What is up, guys? I'm your friendly neighborhood web war fanatic, and today we will be looking at all the protection support cards in Marvel Champions. So let's go ahead and get started here with our first card. We have Angel's Airy. This is a 1-cost support card, and it's a pretty new card that came in the Angel Hero Pack. As a response, after you defend against an attack, place 1 fatigue counter on this card. So basically this means if you exhaust to defend, or if you play a card like Backflip that has the defense keyword, then this can trigger the response here to add fatigue counters on here. So if you're playing this card, you have to be playing a hero that can either exhaust to defend a lot, or with a lot of defense events. And as an alter ego action, you can remove each fatigue counter from this card and heal 1 damage from your identity for each fatigue counter removed this way. So this is a very powerful effect. One limiting thing is that you have to remove every fatigue counter from here each time you trigger this alter ego action. So if you have like 3 sustained damage and 5 fatigue counters on this card, you do have to remove all the fatigue counters. That is not that bad of a limiting effect because you can usually plan your turns around when you want to flip down and when you gathered enough fatigue counters to trigger this alter ego action. So it's not that bad of a limiting factor, and it's a very good effect because most heroes don't have access to that powerful 1-cost support that can heal them in alter ego, like an Aunt May for Peter Parker Spider-Man, or a Project Rebirth for Venom, or a Soul World for Adam Warlock. So that's a very powerful 1-cost support to have, and Angel's Airy gives you that in the protection aspect. So it's a very good card. You just have to make sure that you fulfill those conditions. But this is definitely, to me, an A tier card. Definitely you want to build your deck around it if you want to include this card, and it can definitely help out. It stays in play forever and just gives you the versatility to recover without having to exhaust in your alter ego. Okay, so our next card here is Defensive Training. This is a 1-cost support, and it comes in with 2 training counters. So this is the equivalent of the Assault training or all the other trainings for the different aspects. As an alter ego action, exhaust this card and remove 1 training counter from it. Then choose a protection event in your discard pile and shuffle it into your deck. So same as all the other ones, I think that this is a C tier card. It is a situational card, and there's just too many limiting factors, right? Just like the same as the other ones. So you only have 2 training counters on here, so you use it twice and this card's done. It's an alter ego action, so you have to flip down to alter ego to trigger it. And unlike the Angel's Airy, where you want to be flipping down to recover anyways, because if you need to recover, you usually want to flip down. This card, you want those protection events while you're still in hero form. So it's a little bit of an anti-synergy type of thing going on, where you have to flip down to alter ego to get those protection cards back in, but most of those protection events you can only use in hero form anyways. So a little bit counterproductive. It would be nice to get those protection events and build more consistently, but by having, you probably already have 3 copies of them in your deck, so getting them back in after you use them with the defensive training will make it more consistent. So that's like the plus side to it. But yeah, I don't think it's very good at all, because protection, I mean, it's a little bit hard for protection to flip down a lot to trigger the alter ego action, and it has to be an event, right? So you can't get an ally or support or upgrade. It's just a lot of limiting factors. So this goes in C tier. In a few situations it can be good, but you really have to plan around the situation if you want to take the full to get the full benefits of this card. Okay, so next we have Hangar Bay. This is a 1-cost support, max 1 per player. As a response, after an ally defends against an attack and is not defeated, exhaust this card and ready that ally. So this is a super duper powerful card, especially for protection, because a lot of protection allies come in with a tough stats card. So whenever you play that ally, if you have them activate, they'll take consequential damage and they'll lose a toughness. So protection allies that have the tough stats card are usually very, very slow allies. And if they're defending, right, so let's say you play them, you don't have them activate. When the villain attacks you, they exhaust to defend to knock off the tough and soak in all that damage. And then for the rest of the next player phase, that ally stays exhausted the entire phase and it can't activate, right? But with Hangar Bay here, this is a 1-cost support and it just stays in play. Every single time an ally defends and survives, you can exhaust this card to ready that ally back up. That is an insanely powerful effect, because now you're adding so much more tempo to all those allies. So now when you play a tough ally, like let's say Luke Cage, he won't activate the first turn. An enemy can attack, like Ronan can hit you for 15. Luke Cage blocks it. The tough soaks in all that damage, and then you exhaust Hangar Bay. You can ready up Luke Cage, and Luke Cage can immediately like swing for 2 or do whatever he needs during the player phase. So a very good card, works for a bunch of allies. You can use this every single turn if you have an ally defend and they live. The Hangar Bay will just stay in play. So a very, very good card. Very good synergy, especially with the protection aspect. So I'm going to put this in the A tier. And is it better than Angel's Airy? I mean, they both have a condition. I think it can be argued either way which one is better, right? Angel's Airy, you want your hero to be defending a lot to get the fatigue counters. Hangar Bay, you need to have allies that can defend and survive. So they both have kind of like a factor. I'm just going to put Hangar Bay in front of it, in front of Angel's Airy, because Angel's Airy you do have to flip down to Alter Ego to trigger, and Hangar Bay you don't, which I think is a little bit better for protection. But I mean, you can really argue these cards either way. They're used for different situations, but are both very, very good cards. Okay, and then next we have the Med Team. So this is an OG support card in the core set, and it's a 3-cost support. And every other protection support in the game is 1 cost here, right? Yeah, so that is actually the most expensive protection support that we've seen so far. And this card comes in with 3 med counters. And then as an action, you can exhaust the med team, remove 1 med counter from it, then heal 2 damage from any friendly character. So this is a very, very powerful card. It's a powerful effect. If you can get this card into play, I think the effect is invaluable and super versatile because you can use this in Alter Ego or in hero form. And you can heal 2 from any friendly character, especially allies. There's not a lot of ways for protection to heal allies. So I think having the med team being able to do that is invaluable. I love having the med team with X23 to heal Honey Badger. And it's nice because you get this support on the field. It stays on the field, and you can choose when you want to trigger its healing effect. The only thing is that 3 cost is a little bit hefty for this card. I wish it was a 2-cost card. It would go in like every single protection deck if it was 2 costs. But then it might be a little bit too overpowered. I think it's a very good effect if you can get it down. But because it's kind of expensive and low tempo, I'm going to put Med Team in the B tier here, right? It's 3 costs to heal 6 damage over 3 turns. You have to exhaust it as well. It does have the shield trait, so you can do some shield shenanigans with this card. But yeah, I think it's generally just a little bit too slow to be a top tier A tier card. But definitely if I have an empty roster spot in my deck, the Med Team is more than welcome. And if you can get the Med Team out, then it's always going to be good to have out because you can just save those heals for whenever you need them. So a very good card that I like a lot. Okay, and lastly, for our final protection support card, we have the Night Nurse. This is a 1-cost support. This will also come with 3 med counters. As an action, exhaust the Night Nurse and remove 1 med counter from her, then heal 1 damage from a hero and discard 1 status card from that hero. So one thing with this card is that you have to do it from a hero, right? So if you're in Alter Ego, you can trigger this action, but you can't heal yourself because you're not a hero. You only get this effect on a hero, even though the person that owns the Night Nurse can trigger it in either form. And then this card is very, very powerful. 1 for healing 3 damage over 3 turns. I think it's a very good efficiency curve. And then also to take away a status, that is amazing if you are stunned or confused, right? I think the Night Nurse just saves a lot of protection decks because it sucks getting stunned and confused, and Night Nurse really just cleanses that and stays on the field. So you can just have it out and just wait for whenever you are stunned and confused to use this effect. You don't have to use it right away because it's not an event. So I think it's a very, very powerful card. I'm going to put Night Nurse in the A tier, and I'll put it number 1 A tier. I think it is the strongest protection support in the game. And I think definitely, I mean, if the only thing with the status cards, right, is if there is no stun or confuse, then it's not going to be as good. But even then, 1 for healing 3, right? Med Team is 3 for healing 6 damage. So it's still cheaper than the Med Team. It's a little bit less versatile because you can't heal allies and you only heal a hero, so not Alter Egos. But still a very cheap card. And if you do get the benefits, right, if you use it 3 times to take away a status, like if you're confused and you heal that confuse, or you heal a stun and then heal another stun, it's an S tier card, right? If you get the statuses off every single time, it is an S tier card. The only reason I put an A tier is oftentimes some scenarios don't give you a lot of statuses, right? They might not stun you or confuse you, and in that case, it's just a 1 for 3 healing, which makes it not as good. But having the potential to just stay in play and wait for a status to come and then immediately take the status off is so powerful. And yeah, I think if you get its effect to its full effects, it's definitely an S tier card. But I think A tier is a good ranking for it. And one thing to know is that you have to discard 1 status card from your hero. So if you do have a tough status card and no stun and confuse, and for some reason you want to use the Night Nurse to heal 1 damage, you do have to remove your tough, which kind of sucks. But I mean, that situation has never came up for me. I think it's generally an easy way to play around that because if you have toughness, you won't be taking damage anyway. So hopefully you can last that 1 HP for another turn until your tough is pinged off. But yeah, so this is my protection support card tier list. I don't have anything in the S tier. I have most of them in the A tier here. And the med team is very expensive, but it's in the B tier. And we have defensive training in the C tier. So let me know what you guys think, if you guys agree or disagree with anything on this list. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one.